In this video, I'm going to show you how to work the backward loop cast on. I'm going to demo two occasions where you might often use this cast on. The first being at the start of the project, and the second being when you need to cast on somewhere in the middle of your work, such as at the beginning or end of a row, or at the underarm in a top-down sweater. The benefits of the backward loop cast on are that, one, it's the easiest of all cast-ons, so it's a great option for beginner knitters just starting off. So if you want to learn to knit, or if you're teaching somebody how to knit, then this cast-on is a great option for a first project. Or two, the other benefit is that it's a cast-on that allows you to work it even when you're in the middle of a project. Now, the downside to this cast-on, I find, is that it doesn't create as uniform or stable of an edge as other cast-ons. But I think if you're a beginner just starting off, or you just want a super simple option, then this is still a great cast-on option to consider. So let's dig into those two occasions that I had mentioned. So the first is I'm going to show you how you would use this backward loop cast on to cast on stitches at the beginning of a project. So to start, we need to make a slip knot. So I have my working yarn right here and I have a pair of needles. So to make a slip knot, you want to take your tail end of the yarn. And I always like to leave a decent length tail. So I would say this is, about 8 inches or so. And I kind of create the form like this. So here is the tail and here is the working yarn. And so to make the slip knot, I'm going to take the tail end over here and I'm going to put it over this side. So I'm making a circle right here. And then I'm going to go like this. I'm going to take this end of the tail. See how I'm holding it like this. And then I'm taking these two strands here. And then I am pulling through to make a knot. And then I would just go like this to make it smaller. So let me show you that again. So I create a shape like this. I got my tail. I got my working yarn on this side. I'm going to take the tail side and I'm going to put it over, making a circle right here. And then I'm going to go like this. I'm going to stick my left hand fingers kind of through the hole. And I want to grab a piece of the tail like this. Then with my right hand, I'm going to take both strands like this. And then I'm going to just pull up like that. And then I'll just go like this to make it smaller. And so there is our slip knot. So then I'm going to take my slip knot and I'm going to put it on one of the ends of the needle. It doesn't matter which one. I am using a circular needle, which you can use whether or not you're working in the round or flat. I like to work on circulars even when I'm working flat. So I'm going to put the slip knot onto one of my needle tips and then I'm just going to cinch up a little bit. And so one thing before we get started, your slip knot loop here, that counts as your first cast on stitch. So now that we have it on the needle, we're ready to work our actual backward loop cast on. So move your working yarn over to your left side here because we want to be our tail I have over on this side. And here is the working yarn on this side. I want to take the working yarn and I'm going to hold it with my left hand like this. And then I'm going to wrap the yarn around my thumb like this. So from the right side of the thumb to the left side so that the opening, I'm creating a loop around my thumb and so that the opening is on my right side. And then I'm just going to take this loop and I'm going to place it onto my needle, let go, and then cinch. Usually when I cinch up, I cinch with my left hand and then I give my right hand a little tug for that first stitch. Okay, so let's do that again. So then I'm going to take my working yarn, wrap it around my thumb, just like that, and then take this loop and put it onto the needle, just like that. Let go, and then cinch up. Wrap it around the thumb. Put the needle tip through the loop. Let go, and cinch up. Wrap it around the thumb. Put the needle through the loop, and let go. Now, if you are a beginner knitter, the other good thing with learning this cast on is that some of these maneuvers are similar to another cast on that I like to use called the long tail cast on. And I'll put a link to that video I have above. But if you're a very beginner knitter, it's easier to first learn the maneuvers of the actual knitting stitch before you do the long tail cast on. So I think this is a great cast on to start with, to get you started, then practice your knit and purl stitches. And then once you feel more comfortable just holding the needles and holding the yarn, then you could give the long tail cast on a try. But many of the maneuvers in that cast on are similar to this. So this cast on is really great to learn first. So let's do one more. So I'm wrapping around the thumb, inserting the needle, letting go, and cinching up. So there we go. We've cast on a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stitches then. So now let me show you that second occasion where often you'll see this type of cast on listed in a pattern to use. And that is when you're already in the middle of your work. So that means that you already have stitches on your needles. And often you'll see this cast on listed where you're supposed to knit to a certain point or knit to the end of the row. And then it'll say something like using the backward loop cast on, let's say 5 stitches. So in this demo here, I'm going to pretend that my pattern says to knit to the end of this row and then do my backward loop cast on. So I'm just going to go ahead and first knit to the end. Okay, so I've knit to the end and I'm not turning the work like I normally would do once I reach the end of the work because my particular pattern then said to using the backward loop cast on 5 stitches. So at this point, I can let go of this end of the needle and I have my working yarn here and it's attached to the last stitch. And then all I'm gonna do is just like we had done in the using this cast on to start a project, holding the working yarn with my right hand, I'm going to create a loop around my thumb by going like this. And then I'm going to take this loop and I'm going to put it onto my needle tip. And then I'm going to cinch up. So I'm going to do that again. Put the loop on the needle, cinch up. Okay, so I have done my 5 stitches. And so then once you're done with that, you would follow the pattern as written. So depending on the nature of the pattern, you might be told to then turn the work like this and then work the next row, including these newly cast on stitches. Or if you're, let's say, working in the round, it might tell you to join the piece together at a certain point. Or if you're working, let's say, a sweater and these were underarm stitches, it might have a different type of instruction. Now, one last thing I wanted to show you is that if you were unhappy with how any of your stitches looked, it's really easy to just undo it. So as you can see here are my stitches. If let's say I wasn't happy with the last 2 stitches, all you would do is just slide them off of the needle. That's it. So 1 and 2, and then I would try again. So that is how you work the backward loop cast on, both when starting a project as well as when you need to cast on stitches in the middle of your work. I hope you found it helpful. Happy knitting!